Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Turn Right Machine Works. My name is Keith, and this is Hinged 2. Alright, I've got my ovals and our clasp end here, and I've got lines all over the place here that I'll be able to snip away and create my cutout shapes and get them on the table. Alright, let's see how it happens. Okay, let's start from scratch. So I'll take this down here. We took this oval and we drew it on the screen by tracing the half over here onto it and get that shape, and then we imported that into our program. We took the oval or egg shape drawing shortcut and created and modified the overall percentage of width and percentage of oval and distortion. I should say percentage of width, length, and distortion. That gives you how to shape out this egg right here by the computer. We generated a good closed loop line that represented this shape that we imported. So we had a good, nice oval to set it up. Then we created ears off the front that we wanted to incorporate a toggle knob bolt and a hinge on the back. We're going to be using Schedule 80 aluminum for the hinge on the back. It'll be a Delrin bushing in here with a 1/2 inch stainless steel pin, and its overall length is going to be 4 inches. So we're going to have a 2-inch center and two 1-inch outsides. Hence our two shapes. There's the inside, there's the outside. We're going to call this the bottom, and this sits on here, slightly overhangs the inside, and it overhangs the outside so we can get a nice fillet weld in here. And I positioned the center web. My very first piece, we set up this, we just eyeballed it, and we thought that this rib in the center of this oval was center, but it's not. It's actually slightly forward, but that's all right. We modified, we rose it up to where it was almost in line with it, but we left it so that we could actually have a nice penetration weld without any distortion right here by using the edge of the aluminum and the top of the web here itself. And we wanted to have two gussets coming out here because we're going to grab two ears that are going to be holding the sides of the ball joint that we're going to be using here, and the same thing there. And those will slightly pivot out and slightly pivot out that way there. Then our top plate is actually going to be hinged at the back, come down in here, and this will have a cup top with an opening so that it comes over, and the knob will be fit to fit that radius. So it'll automatically come over and swivel, and the rod end will self-align itself in both cases and hold that down. Alright, so after we were happy with our cutouts, our second set of cutouts, and we had the shape, and we were happy with what we had. I mean, it's easy to go ahead and cut it out of a piece of 12 gauge steel that you got laying around, and it doesn't really cost you anything, and it's a good way to put something up here that you can, in 2D, you know, you can start seeing what you want to create. All right, and of course, after we created this, we go, oh, we got to see this up here, and then how does this actually fit on here? And it fits nice. Well, I mean, the two halves, I took the file and I took that little mismatch nub that was at the end. I took that off, and everything else, they are pretty flat. So I feel real good about, we're going to have a good fit up on here. Somebody in the comments mentioned luck about this cut, and you know, earned skill or luck, it doesn't matter. If you're going to refer to the finish that I ended up with as being lucky, well, you need to go get some more luck. If not, just get some experience on setting that up and making the cuts. And this is not my first rodeo. I've done a lot of in-field cutting, and that's where this comes into play. I also had a comment on using the skill saw with a carbide blade. And if you go into a lot of fabrication shops, in fact, actually, I've done 1/2 inch plate, 1/4 inch plate, 3/8 plate, all on the ground with a rip guide. The only reason why I didn't use a rip guide is because I wasn't going shallow. If I'm going shallow, I'll use the rip guide, because then you can just hold it up there and go. When it's long, and you saw me kind of steering slightly, I'm watching the cut. I'm not watching where the top of the saw is. I'm watching the cut, and I need to flex it. And when you got that blade sticking out that far, it's flexing. So what you're watching and what I'm watching are two different things. All right. So we were happy. We cut these out of aluminum. We were happy with our cut finish. Really does look nice. I cut 1.5 hinges because the very first one of the bottom, for some reason I forgot to put the radius in on that edge there, and of course it wasn't up to my standards, so I cut another one. All right, that the mistake went up into the window, and it gets to just be a show and tell piece. There again, have plenty of material on hand. All right, so I estimate that those round cups that are going to be up on top of here are almost going to be about the size of that washer, so I can still have some weld around. And I made these larger radiuses up here so that the weld can come around on here, whereas this has got flat bar coming in here, and I made these a little shallower but pronounced out here so that they'll still be able to configure to the gusset rib. And of course, these slots are all in line, so when this is set up, this will come directly out. Okay, the other thing I got to think about is this is a 1/2 inch of thickness. So the distance that this angles back in a 1/2 inch of height, I will split the difference and offset this flange center to the tube center, so that the tube will actually continue on. It'll be parallel with the bottom or the base. The top will match it. But it's something that you have to think about, because the flange is actually going to be straight up and down. The flange is not tapered with this. Okay, I think we got it. Now, we set up both of these plates so that we could get the center of this radius on the top where the stud is actually going to be, so that we make sure that we don't get it choked up too much. We have about 100 thousandths gap behind our steel samples. We cut out throwaway samples so that we can get it figured out. We figured that angle right to the T with using our bevel protractor, and coming right off of the dimensions there, then double checking it in off of this side here without this on, and we were able to get both. One was about 70 degrees and the other one was about 76, something like that, 68. It was just slightly more than the other one. The shallower is out here, the sharper is in here because of the angle of the approach here, and then this angle here, the two different angles, the angle of center here and the angle of the leaning post itself. So we're ready to cut out the aluminum ones. Now what we have right now is the inside set up in the position there, and if you actually look at them that way there, you can actually see the difference between this position and that position there. And with this in place, that's what you actually have right there. And this is nice and horizontal on the top. Boom, boom. Alright, let's see if we can continue on with the same thing in the aluminum. Now we're going to be a 1/4 inch on the width. These are real narrow, so there's more room to play with them. When you get the wider foot, we may actually have to relieve a little bit because we're going to be angling somewhat into this. So this inside one here might need a little bit more work. This outside one is actually going to hang outside, and it's going to be part of the weld prep. So whatever gap we get, we start getting weld prep. We got this may come in or stay flush with it, kind of looking at that straight line angle there. And of course, this is not the bolt we're going to be using. We're going to be using stainless steel bolts, and this one just happens to be a really nice National Fine, and it lets us use it as a sample. Alright, whatever we make for this side, we're going to duplicate for that side, because that is just a mirror. Here we go. Okay, now we'll go find that part. There we go. And first off, we're going to dress this off. We're going to go create a true 1/2 inch hole. The plasma cuts a little bit shy of that 1/2 inch, so we're gonna pop that out. All right, we put our 1/2 inch hole in here. Let's see what we got. What this will look like in here, and we're just holding. This is pretty. Hey, what's it? It's within a little bit of wherever it's going to be. This is going to fit right in there just like that. And that angle looks pretty good. Now these get fit in after this weld will be put underneath here because we want that full weld in there. We'll dress that angle or that tip of the angle. We'll put a radius on there so it fits up into that weld, and then we'll weld these in. Of course, it'll be like weld, and then these will be tacked, and everything will be tacked in here 100% before we actually start fully welding it. But that's going to be our operation. But this is nice and clean, and that fits right in there. Alright, we're going to cut out the other one of these for the inside over here. Same thing, that fits real nice in there. Get over here where I can really see it. Nice. It's actually more open on the inside than it is on the outside, but this distance out here still looks good. Okay, we got one bolt. We'll grab another bolt. We have both sets here, and we're gonna put the bolts through. Okay, we're gonna just run a reamer through these. Seems the drill bit we cleared them out with is a little tight. Okay, it makes a big difference running a reamer through it. I did them all at the same time, so and let's go ahead and get this on here in the right direction, like that, and one of the small ones, and just like that. Alright, now we want to stack up our aluminums on here because we want to make sure that we're fitting within the radius of the top bolt as well. And we're going to probably put a C-clamp on the back here, kind of holding those, making sure that they are parallel. We're going to get this other one started here. Awesome. Looking pretty good. Let's see. We got, make sure that these are rotated into the right angle of the dangle here. There we go. Excuse me. Again. Alright, we're satisfied with our supports for the pivoting joint down here at the bottom. And we're gonna go ahead and work the hinge on the back side now. We want to tack the hinge to both of these pieces and have a dummy pin sitting in there so that we don't have to have this clamp. We know that these are going to stay stationary with each other. Then we're going to set this up here. We're going to mark and we'll clean off what we need to clean to be able to have weldable areas where we can start tacking these features all together. Okay, we weren't sure what we were going to do when we first made our cutouts here, and we just gave it a radius in here. We know we're going to have a 1-inch block here and a 2-inch in the middle and another 1-inch over there. But I don't like this sharp edge right here, so this is probably going to be a radius that's going to kind of be shaped into here, kind of like just feather out. I still want that full 1-inch out here, but I want this to be a little more sleek in that area. And we might be, that might be just a hand sanding when we go in here to just dress off this outside. Alright, let me move these out of the way here. These are our dummies and dummy hinge pads here. Alright, we turned the shaft just a couple thousandths smaller than our reamed hole, and we've made this just a little bit shorter. In fact, we made 2 spacers that are going on here because we're going to allow for powder coating in between our joints here, and or they could put a thin Teflon or Delrin sleeve in there. These are 30 thousandths each. They could be 15 thousandths. I don't know what the thickness of powder coating is or whatever, but it'd be compensating for that. Alright, 2 outside ears, 1 inside ear. We're going to split this exactly for the difference, so it'll be a 1/4 inch higher than this and a 1/4 inch lower than the bottom. This is a combination of 1/2, and this is, well, this is actually 1 inch 50 thousandths. That's what schedule 80 3/4 aluminum pipe is. Alright, so we're going to pull this off of here, move this just a little bit out of our way here, and we're going to set this up, and we're going to tack weld this hinge in place. We're going to get our welding leads now. We're all set up here. This is movable here. In fact, I'm going to get something that will actually hold back against this while we tack these outer pieces and tack this inner piece right here. but this actually splits the difference of the width of this in relationship to our two flanges right here. And we're going to zero the hinge on the outside of our two pieces here, and we're going to modify or sand this ear to blend in with this, just so that it'll look like it's matching up perfect. The outside of the rest of the curves here are all set up and nice, and the center line of our pivots here are perfect. So by just being able to dress off that face right there a little bit will be just like it was made for it, right? Made in the USA. Made in the USA. I want to rotate this around and put a tacks on the other side as well. Not much room to get in there without touching the tungsten, but I clouded up, but I didn't contaminate my tungsten, so I'm happy about that. Let's see if we can do the same thing or better on this side. We'll be able to weld this fine when we pull it apart. Hey, we were able to do a little better on that one. Awesome. Okay, just a little sooted up. Okay, how's our hinge? It actually goes this way here. This is the top. All right, let's put it up on our piece here and get a good look at it. Oh, we lost one of our little spacer washers already. That's how well this thing fits together. Okay, I'm just drawing a Sharpie line around my weld area here that I want to strip the powder coating off of here. Okay. Pretty happy with progress so far. Looking really clean. Let me just hold the top on here. Get a look at that. Gonna be something like that right there. A little bit that way than it is this way here. Pretty cool. All right, we've got this set up on here, and I think we're pretty close to putting a tack. We're going to put 2 tacks in here, and then we're going to pull off our hinges, our hinge and our clasp, and flip this over, make sure everything is kosher on here. As far as the center to center, we're measuring equal there. Looks good from here. We tried coming over here and squaring this off of this plate, but this plate is not square with the rest of that, and we confirmed how much this was off to where we're eyeballing this to this straight line to this backside and this straight line to that backside, and this plate is actually twisted that way in relationship to this whole part. So we thought we were going to be able to just go square, boom, we're done. And now it's going to be an eyeball this square with this web in the middle, verify it on the outside, and then go from there. And I think we bumped it just a little bit. I think it's just ever so skosh this way here. Yep, I think we're right there. Okay. And we're just double checking everything here. Looks good. We're going to take this down. Because I want to get my head right in here. Just do the final look, making sure that it looks like it's equal on both sides. Pretty darn close. You can double check it over and over and over, and you keep putting it back and it keeps going back to the same spot. I think it's time to put a tack on there. All right, we're going to find our ground here. Here goes everything. That's only one right in, pretty close to the middle. We can do a twisting if we have to. I'm going to pull out the ground very carefully. And first thing I'm going to do is pull off our clamps there. We're going to slide out our pin. We're going to keep our shims. This top plate can lift off. We're just barely getting ready to start fusing to that. Okay, and I want to look at it from this position here. That looks good by my eye there. And that's what it's going to, by eye from the outside is what it's going to take. So this surface right here and this surface right here are looking equal to the sides right here. And visually when you stare at this thing, that's what you're going to be looking at, is how it appears from the outside. So this does have a little bit of an angle to it. I'm not too worried about that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put a secondary tack over on this side now. Okay, a little bit more substantial. I'm going to do the same thing over here. That's looking really nice. All right, we're going to do another just quick fit up. Just make sure that everything looks kosher still as far as our piece. And we should be able to hold that right in there. Drop the other one in. There we go. One more check on our clamps, and if they look good, then we're going to go for our weld that's got to be underneath them so we can refit those and get those tacked on. Now what I'm doing is I'm setting them up so that they're straight in line with our slots, so that pivot angle comes up in the right location. All right, I like that. Okay, I flipped it over, and once I saw a little tiny gap, and if I put pressure right here, there's kind of like, where was I going to put this board right here? Well, I'm putting that board so the pressure is just about where we were welding. I took my Starrett bevel protractor, the straight edge, and I put it across that surface, and that surface is flat. So I'm going to tack it with that little bit of gap right there. That's just the amount that I was off on my cut from where it's at, and I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm going to put a short little cold tack so it doesn't draw it completely closed right there. And then after that, then I'll pick another spot and we'll move around, and then I'm going to get a full weld bead in on the front side here so that I can get the clamp gussets put in place. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing at this end here. I got to stick my tungsten out a little bit more. Well, not that far. There we go. Well, I tell you what, I'm glad I didn't make this any shorter, because this is about as much tight space I want to weld in here. So, and I'm going to start down here and come up vertically this way here, and then I'm going to do the same thing over on that side there, and then we'll be able to weld or tack those gussets in there. All right, and then we're going to flip it over, and we'll do a fit up. Take a look at that hinge with what we got before we put any more on, because we could just weld those up, but I want to take a look at it beforehand. Okay, now we know that weld pulled those ears down a little bit, so we're going to want to straighten those ears up just slightly when we go to put those gussets in there. It doesn't really, when this squeezes together, we're going to be running tight right around the mast surface anyway. So the weld is actually coming together to go ahead and give us a shape that forces, when this clamps together, it forces those two metal to metal surfaces to go together. Okay, we got these up in position, and I think they look pretty good. I'm just going to give them just a little tiny bit of a tweak there, and I think I'm going to tighten this up a little bit here. I just want to make sure we've kind of like helped straighten out that little bit of gap there, and they're lined up with our slots pretty good. We'll be able to take a rotary burr and kind of clean out our slots, and we've got a cup that's going to be up here on the top yet, and another piece that's going to screw down in on top of the recess. So that's why we have this amount of threads right here. So it's going to be perfect. No need to cut these or anything. It's going to be right in the money. Okay. Okay, we tighten those up a little bit. We're coming down to our battery here. It's looking pretty good on our camera. A little bit low, but we're just going to throw some tacks on these spots here now. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to lay it on each side here. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and get one right down in the root there. I'm going to have to extend out my tungsten again. Little pocket keeps the gases in there pretty good. All right, we set this up here just a little bit ago, and we moved it, and we stood back, and we looked at it from this angle, and from the back angle, and from the other side, and just about where you're at now, and it looks to be really lined up. We also took our flats where our two stays or the cross bolts onto. We eyeballed those down to the opening in the underneath the book here. We just ordered a pair of stainless steel knobs that will be the tensioners on, when we lock it down. You'll tighten it down with a hand knob. So they're going to be 2.5-inch knobs here, all stainless steel. They're going to be real nice for this. We're going to make a Delrin washer that will go underneath the face of them. The face of them is nice and broad, so it'll take up this whole foot right here. There'll be plenty of purchase to go ahead and tighten those down, and that's going to be the secure keeper here. And then you can come up above and fold down your antennas and lower down the height that you need to have, and then you can bring it back up and you can tighten those with ease. All right, so those will be coming in tomorrow. Anyway, there is a tiny bit of gap here, and I didn't quite take off there, but everything tells me that this thing is exactly where it needs to be, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tack it front and back, and then we'll be where we want to be as far as that going, and we'll be ready to do the weld. We're going to be welding around this, and then we'll put these doublers. We have two doublers here. They'll get welded in around, and then they'll get welded across here after that initial weld bead is there. So this will be bond in here, making everything really secure on the front here, and that's going to be enough strength there. And then we'll go ahead and weld up our hinge back here, and then we're going to take a look whether we actually feel we need to have gussets in here or not. We probably should have better ground than that. It's grounding, but there we go. All right, we're going to eyeball it again before we tack in the rear. We take the flat of these faces where the cross mounts, and we line up this, and right off of this side here lines up with the hole that's in the middle of the base plate there. And we are right on the money. By measurements all down around here, we're on the money. And then looking at this angle here, coming down with the angle down here, and this back angle here with the back of this, is where you really get the view that the piece is in a good location. All right, I got to switch my ground because I'm going to reach in on the back side here. All right, we're going to spin this around so we can get the tack on the other side. Or we could just stroll over our foot pedal to the other side. We'll go over there. That'll be a lot easier. All right, take her off our weight. It's actually standing on its own. Shut that off for a minute. All right, let's see what we got here. These actually go pretty easy because I put a shim in there so they're not bound up, so that the powder coating, stuff like that, will be able to take that up. And of course, these two pieces here are going to be welded on after we make this pass going around here. And when this folds down and the antennas are folding down, wow, we'll put a weld bead on the back side here. Well, you know, we could weld a little bit. This didn't do this 50-50 split like when we moved this. But when we preset this back here was so that we could set everything aft, and then that angle, because we're going up a ½ inch, and that ½ inch, it was almost 300 thousandths moving the part back to stay in that line of angle. So, but that's fine. That's perfect. Couldn't ask for much more than that. The cables are going to come up, and there's going to be enough loose cables to where this is only going to lay back like this, so that the giant antennas are going to be folded down. That's the main height that we're trying to lower down by folding this. And I'm not sure where it's mounting on the cabin or anything else other than just make it fold. That looks excellent.